From finding Eleven as an orphan to her ultimate sacrifice at the end, here is the entire story of Stranger Things starting from Season 1. Season 1 starts in November 1983 in Hawkins, where our main character Will Byers, yes, the bowl cut guy, is playing Dungeons & Dragons with his friends Mike, Lucas, and Dustin. On his way home, Will encounters something strange and disappears. The next day, his mother Joyce and his older brother Jonathan realize he's not home. The boys at school notice too. Joyce calls the cops and meets Jim Hopper. Meanwhile, Mike's older sister Nancy is dating Steve Harrington. Her bestie Barb is not vibing with Steve, thinking he just wants to get into Nancy's pants. Elsewhere, we get to learn that a young girl rocking a buzz cut has escaped from Hawkins Lab. She steals food from a diner, and Benny, the owner, feeds her before calling social services. There, we get to learn that her name is Eleven. Then, a woman pretending to be a social worker arrives and offs Benny, but Eleven escapes again. That evening, Joyce gets a call from Will, but her phone short circuits. The boys go searching for Will, but end up finding Eleven instead. Yeah, her name is a number, but thankfully it's not 67 or 69. But anyway, they hide her in Mike's basement. There, Eleven warns Mike that dangerous people are after her. We get flashbacks showing Dr. Brenner, whom she calls Papa, forcing her to use her powers. The boys also get to learn about her powers, while Hopper continues searching for Will. Elle recognizes Will from a photo and signals that he's in something called the Upside Down. Meanwhile, Nancy goes to a party at Steve's house with Barb. They're feeling abandoned. Barb sits down by the pool alone. Jonathan, in his Joe Goldberg era, ends up taking pictures of Barb. When Jonathan turns around, a monster lunges at her. Joyce realizes she can communicate with Will through Christmas lights, so naturally she covers her entire house in them. At the Byers' house, Holly sees the lights flickering, and this is actually important for later seasons. Nancy continues to worry about Barb, who is missing. She finds Barb's car and encounters a creature in the woods, and then starts running like Usain Bolt. Joyce establishes a code with Will using the lights.
Are you alive? Are you safe?
He tells Joyce to run as a creature begins to climb through her wall. Oh my god, couldn't be me. And then Will's body is found through a search in the water. But later, Eleven proves that Will is still alive by channeling his voice through a walkie-talkie. The boys realize that they need stronger equipment to contact Will, so they give her a makeover to sneak her into school.
Wow. She looks pretty. Good. You look pretty good.
Nancy and Jonathan team up and find a portal to the Upside Down, while Hopper connects the dots and finds that Will's supposed body is a fake.
Upside down. Dark. Empty.
That's some Fidel Castro stuff right there. But anyways, the boys and Eleven go looking for the Upside Down, but Eleven stops them. Lucas confronts her, but Mike jumps in to defend her, and things quickly turn physical. Eleven loses control, flings Lucas away using her powers, and then disappears. As for Nancy, she finds the entrance to the Upside Down and is saved by Jonathan. And yes, she's still with Steve at this point. We're Team Jancy here, though. But meanwhile, after disappearing, Eleven shoplifts Eggos, which are her favorite. Hopper meets up with Joyce and tells her everything he has learned so far. Together, they track down a woman whose child was reported missing, and it is revealed that her daughter Jane was kidnapped at birth by Dr. Brenner. Hopper and Joyce conclude that Eleven is actually Jane.
She shows up at Benny's 5 nights ago, which means we got a chance.
Meanwhile, Steve and his friends confront Jonathan and a fight breaks out. Jonathan ends up getting arrested, one son missing, the other arrested. They really put Joyce through hell. While searching for Eleven, Mike and Dustin run into their bullies, who hold Dustin at knife point and force Mike to jump into the lake. Mike jumps but is saved by Eleven, and then they all hug. Then Joyce and Hopper are called to the police station because of Jonathan. There, he and Nancy reveal their knowledge of the monster to Joyce and Hopper. They contact Mike and his friends. They put Eleven in a sensory deprivation tank to amplify her powers, and she finds Barb's dead body and tells Will.
Just hold on a little longer. Will.
Meanwhile, Hopper and Joyce break into Hawkins' lab but are caught by security guards. And in the Upside Down, the monster breaks into the place where Will is hiding. At the same time, Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve try to lure the Demogorgon into the house and trap it, but the plan completely falls apart. Mike asks Eleven to the snowball and then kisses her. It's a cute moment. Until the bad guys show up to take her, 11 kills them, collapses, and Brenner gets attacked by the Demogorgon. The monster goes after the kids, and 11 uses the last of her strength to disintegrate it, and then she vanishes. Joyce and Hopper find Will unconscious in the Upside Down and save him. Will recovers and is reunited with his family and friends. 1 month later, everything seems fine. The boys are playing D&D again, Nancy and Steve are still together, and Hopper is seen leaving Eggos in the woods. But at the Christmas dinner, Will coughs up a slug-like creature and has a vision of the Upside Down. And nothing ever is really okay in Hawkins now, is it? Season 2. Alright guys, now you and me, we're in October 1984 and we're introduced to a new character named 8 who can make people see illusions. She has a tattoo just like 11's, and remember her because she'll be important later. But meanwhile, the boys discover that someone called Mad Max has beaten Dustin's high score at the arcade. Will starts having visions of the Upside Down again and sees a storm coming before snapping back to reality. Elsewhere, a journalist named Murray starts snooping around Hawkins. He connects the dots between the lab and 11 and spins a full conspiracy involving a secret Russian weapon, but Hopper brushes him off instead and investigates a local farm's poisoned pumpkin patch. And then we're properly introduced to the new girl, Max, and her psycho older brother Billy, who clearly has anger issues. Dustin and Lucas soon realize that Max is actually the Mad Max from the arcade. Joyce has a new boyfriend, Bob Newby, basically the human embodiment of a golden retriever. Meanwhile, Nancy and Steve have dinner with Barb's parents, who reveal they're selling their house to afford a private investigator to look into Barb's disappearance. Nancy is completely haunted by guilt over Barb's death. Soon after, Hopper goes home to a cabin where 11 is alive and hiding. She's been living with him in secret, and Hopper refuses to let her leave for her own safety. Meanwhile, Max joins the group as they go trick-or-treating together. During the night, Will once again has a vision of the shadowy monster. Nancy wants to tell Barb's parents too about her death, but Steve insists it's too dangerous. Nancy later gets drunk and tells Steve she doesn't love him.
Bullshit.
Soon after, Dustin finds a small creature in his trash and names it Dart. Completely unaware of what it is, he starts researching it on his own. Meanwhile, Bob shares a childhood nightmare with Will and encourages him to face his fears.
Easy peasy, right?
When Hopper leaves the cabin during the day, 11 sneaks out to look for Mike and her friends who are trying to figure out what Dart really is. Will realizes Dart is from the Upside Down, and not long after, Dart grows bigger and escapes. At the same time, 11 sees Mike and Max together and assumes they're flirting. Jealous, she makes Max fall off of her skateboard using her powers. Dustin eventually recaptures Dart, but keeps him a secret from the others. Following Bob's advice, Will confronts the monster, but it invades his body. 11 returns to the cabin where she and Hopper get into a huge fight.
You are like Papa!
Soon after, Will tells Joyce and Hopper that he is connected to the shadow monster and draws strange scribbles that resemble a map. Meanwhile, 11 finds Hopper's notes and uses her powers to contact her birth mother. She learns her real name is Jane. Dustin realizes Dart has eaten his cat and finally understands the truth. Dart is a young Demogorgon. Hopper ends up getting trapped into the Upside Down while working on a case, and Will tells his mom that Hopper is in trouble. Jonathan and Nancy meet up with Murray and tell him everything they know. Using Will's drawings, Bob figures out Hopper's location, and he and Joyce enter the tunnels to save him. As the scientists burn the vines filling the tunnels, Will screams in pain and suffers a seizure. Soon after, 11 visits her birth mother and sees visions of another child kept at Hawkins Lab. What a lovely place to be, along with the trauma her mother endured. 11 then finds 8, who leads a gang that exacts revenge on those who have hurt them. 8 teaches 11 how to become stronger and gives her a full makeover.
Bitchin'.
But ultimately, 11 realizes her friends need her and heads back to Hawkins. Back at the lab, the Demodogs break in. Mike, Joyce, Hopper, Bob, and Dr. Owens are trapped inside. They manage to escape, but Bob sacrifices himself.
Don't wait for me. As soon as I get those doors open.
I'm gonna get them out. I promise.
Later, Dustin identifies the shadow monster as the Mind Flayer, and Will feels what he feels. When a Demodog attacks the house, 11 kills it and reunites with the group. What's up? And then our cute little couple is finally reunited, though there's tension between her and Max. Meanwhile, there's a very different kind of tension between Billy and Mike's mom. Hopper and 11 head back to the lab to end things once and for all, and once again, Hawkins is saved, thanks to 11. 1 month later, Barb is finally given a funeral. Hopper officially adopts 11, and at the dance, Mike and Elle kiss, as do Max and Lucas. And Dustin gets rejected by every girl until Nancy dances with him. And everything seems happy. Or maybe not. And everything seems happy. Or maybe not. Dun dun dun. But anyway, Season 3. It's summertime in Hawkins, guys. You and me, we're enjoying some sunshine and ice cream and Soviet espionage. We see a Russian base trying to reopen a gate to the Upside Down. They're succeeding, which means Will is about to suffer again. This kid cannot seem to catch a break, guys. But anyways, back at Hawkins, the group, minus Dustin, heads to the new Starcourt Mall. Steve is now working at Scoops Ahoy, fully moved on from Nancy, and now trying to impress his coworker, Robin. But the fun, it doesn't last long. A power outage hits the town, which also disables magnets, and Will senses something is very wrong. Dustin returns from camp claiming he has a girlfriend named Susie. Everyone's skeptical, which is fair because we don't believe him either. Meanwhile, Billy is now a lifeguard, and all of the moms are thirsting over him. Jonathan and Nancy are now working at the local newspaper where Nancy constantly faces sexism. Mike and Eleven are inseparable, which Hopper is not happy about, and after getting advice from Joyce, Hopper tries to have a calm talk with Mike, but ends up threatening him instead.
And I'm gonna speak, and you're going to listen. And then maybe I will continue to allow you to date my daughter.
Mike, terrified, starts lying to Elle about why he can't see her. Dustin's new radio fails to reach Susie, but it does pick up a Russian broadcast. Billy gets dragged into the steel mill by a mysterious creature, and from that moment on, something is very wrong with him. Eventually, Hopper asks Joyce on what he insists is not a date, while Dustin ropes Steve and Robin into helping decode the Russian message. Nancy and Jonathan investigate the issue of diseased rats that seem to be transforming into something that looks like Dart. Max hangs out with Eleven, and they try on clothing in a classic 80s styles montage, but that ends quickly when Eleven runs into Mike at the mall and realizes he lied to her.
I dump your ass.
As Joyce becomes obsessed with her failing magnets, she finally explains to Hopper that something is interfering with the town's electromagnetic field. Using her powers, Eleven spies on Billy and sees him with Heather at the steel mill. Billy can sense he's being watched. Then Robin cracks the Russian code and uncovers a secret meaning. The kids recruit Erica to help, and they accidentally discover a hidden Russian base beneath the mall, which is a thing that kids do, complete with an elevator that drops them deep underground. Back above ground, the group manages to trap Billy in the sauna. Billy admits having done bad things, but that he made him do it.
Let me out, you bitch! Let me out!
Billy, he starts losing it, and Elle throws him through a brick wall with her powers, and they all escape. Dustin and the gang trying to find a way out, while Joyce and Hopper try to find a way in. They end up kidnapping a Russian scientist named Alexei, bringing him to Murray for answers. Inside the base, the gang discovers the upside-down super weapon. They try to escape, but Robin and Steve get captured, drugged, and interrogated by Russians. During a surprisingly emotional moment, Steve confesses his feelings, and Robin reveals she actually likes girls. Eleven, working overtime here, fights the creature again, but it doesn't die and instead escapes through the sewers. Later, when Elle spies on Billy again, she's pulled into one of his memories. Later, flayed Billy threatens her.
And we're going to end you. And when you are gone, we are going to end your friends. And then we are going to end everyone.
The next day, it's the 4th of July, and the whole town celebrates at a carnival, not knowing about what's to come. Dustin and Erica rescue Steve and Robin, who are still drugged out of their minds. The Mind Flayer comes for Eleven and her friend save her, but Elle's bitten in the leg. Oh no! But anyway, the grown-ups come to the fair where Joyce and Hopper look for the kids, while Murray shows Alexei all of the fun activities at the carnival. Then, a Russian assassin shows up and shoots Alexei in the chest. We barely knew him, but we loved him. But anyway, Eleven collapses in pain from her infected leg wound. She uses the last of her power to extract the Mind Flayer piece from her leg. Realizing the only way to close the gate is to destroy the Russian machine, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray infiltrate the base one last time. Joyce and Hopper have a moment where she asks him on a date finally. And oh, we found out Dustin really does have a girlfriend. I can't believe it. Billy comes for Eleven and presents her to the Mind Flayer, but the gang distracts it with fireworks. That's when Elle reminded him of a happy memory from his childhood. As the Mind Flayer lunges towards Eleven, Billy steps in front of her and stops it. The monster kills him in return. Back in the control room, Joyce is forced to shut down the machine, knowing it will kill Hopper. He gives her a nod, she turns it off, and the Mind Flayer dies. Hopper is gone. We skip forward 3 months. Will and his family are moving away with Elle. Eleven still doesn't have her powers. She and Mike share a final kiss, and Joyce gives her a letter Hopper wrote. The finale of Season 3 ends with a mid-credit scene depicting a Russian facility where prisoners are being fed to a creature we recognize all too well, a Demogorgon. Season 4. Alright guys, we are with a flashback to 1979 at Hawkins Lab. Young Eleven is there with other kids who all have psychic powers, but something goes horribly wrong, and we see Dr. Brenner waking up to all of the other subjects dead, aside from 11. We then jump to 1986 in California. 11, Will, Jonathan, and his new friend Argyle are settling into their new life, but Elle is struggling and being bullied by other kids. She keeps this secret from Mike in the letters they're writing to each other. Back in Hawkins, Mike has joined the Hellfire Club, a D&D group led by Eddie Munson, while Dustin is still in a long-distance relationship with Susie. Steve and Robin are still best friends, and Lucas has joined the basketball team, befriending team captain Jason and his jock friends. Max is still struggling after Billy's death. Things between her and Lucas have gotten sour, and she's isolating herself while listening to Running Up That Hill on repeat. Honestly, an absolute banger. And Jason professes his love for his girlfriend, Chrissy, during a basketball game. Robin seems to have feelings for fellow band member Vicky, and Nancy is working at the school newspaper with fellow reporter Fred. Max, he overhears Chrissy crying in the bathroom. Turns out she's been having hallucinations. Chrissy leaves the school grounds and heads into the woods, where she sees a strange clock that suddenly cracks open and sprouts out black spiders. She's interrupted by Eddie, who agrees to sell her drugs and asks her to show up at his trailer after school. Meanwhile, in California, Elle tries to use her powers on Angela but fails, leading to more ridicule. Joyce receives a mysterious package from Russia, as one does, with a doll and a note inside reading, "Hop is alive." That night, Lucas can't make it to the Hellfire Club because of basketball, so Erica fills in. During the game, they're introduced to a villain named Vecna. At the same time, Max sees Eddie with Chrissy at his trailer. Chrissy becomes possessed by an unknown creature, goes into a trance, and levitates in Eddie's room before her eyes implode and her bones snap. Eddie freaks out and runs. The next day, the police arrive and find Chrissy's body, and Eddie is nowhere to be found. In California, Mike arrives to visit 11. They reconnect immediately while Will seems to be a tad bit jealous. The police, they talk to Jason, who wants vengeance. News of the murder reaches Nancy and Fred, who decide to investigate. Max believes Eddie did it, but Dustin refused to believe his friend is capable of murder. That's a real one right there. But Mike and Elle and Will, they go roller skating. Elle keeps up the facade that she's fitting in at school. Naturally, Angela shows up and throws a milkshake at her. Elle smacks her with a roller skate, and, guys, we don't condone violence here, but, Angela kind of had it coming. But we also see Hopper alive in Russia, being transported to Kamchatka by Russian soldiers. Joyce and Murray call the number from the note and speak to a man named Enzo, who asks for money to meet in Alaska to help free Hopper. The Hawkins gang tracks down Eddie, who's hiding, and he tells them what happened.
Her body just lifted up into the air, and she just hung there in the air. Her bones started to snap. I didn't know what to do, so I ran away.
While they're processing this, Fred is overcome by the same creature. Just like Chrissy, he levitates and dies with his limbs distorted. Dustin realizes this is just like Vecna's curse from D&D. The military visits Dr. Owen, showing pictures of Chrissy's body. They think Owens is secretly using 11 as a weapon to do this. Back in California, after the skating incident, Elle and the others show up at Joyce's for dinner. Joyce reveals she's heading to Alaska for a business trip. Jason's basketball crew decides to hunt down Eddie. Fred's body is found, and police question Nancy about what she knows. The gang splits up to gather information while Vecna continues hunting victims. Mike and Elle, they fight, and she points out that Mike never says he loves her. But the argument cuts short when police arrive and arrest 11 for assaulting Angela. On her way to juvie, Dr. Owens intercepts and takes her into custody. Nancy and Robin decide to visit Vector Creel in the asylum. Lucas sneaks away from the jocks to warn Dustin about their plan to find Eddie. Dr. Owens explains to 11 what's happening in Hawkins and why they need her powers back to save everyone. But time is running out as Max begins experiencing hallucinations. Vecna is coming for her. 11 is taken to the Nina Project run by Dr. Brenner to train and get her powers back. Then, over in Alaska, Joyce and Murray arrive with the money. Hopper tries to escape but gets recaptured. Joyce and Murray get drugged by their contact Yuri. Back in Hawkins, Max goes to Billy's grave and slips into a trance. Vecna appears and taunts her about Billy. As Max starts levitating into the air, Robin realizes music might break the curse. They play Running Up That Hill, and Max remembers all the happy memories with her friends. She manages to save herself and falls back to the ground. And it's one of the most powerful scenes in the entire series. 11 then freaks out and tries to escape the facility, but without her full powers, there's not much else she can do. And after being sedated, she experiences hallucinations. We see Elle's nose bleeding, she sees all the bloody bodies in the hallway, and she spirals out of control. Joyce and Murray knock out Yuri and try to fly his plane back, but they crash land into the wilderness. Jason's basketball crew tracks down Eddie's location. Eddie gets away, but then a basketball player gets possessed by Vecna right in front of everyone. His limbs crack and distort just like the others. Back at the facility, guards arrive to stop Eleven, but she uses her powers and knocks them all down. Her powers are back. Well, sort of. They have limitations, and to fully understand them, she'll have to trust Brenner. The police hold a press conference making Eddie public enemy number 1. Eddie manages to radio Dustin. Meanwhile, Hopper faces a Demogorgon as Murray and Joyce force their way into the Russian facility to save him. Back in Hawkins, Dustin's compass starts going haywire. It's linked to Vecna. They figure out the source is coming from the lake, and when they investigate, Steve gets pulled into an underwater gate and dragged into the Upside Down. Nancy, Robin, and Eddie dive in and manage to save Steve, but now they're all stuck in the Upside Down together. Great teamwork, guys. Then Dr. Owens worries they're not seeing enough progress with Elle. Brenner pushes her to confront her past. Through flashbacks, we learn the truth. A boy named Henry Creel killed all of the other lab kids, not 11. Young Elle fought back and banished Henry to the Upside Down, accidentally creating the first gate. Henry became Vecna. The camera zooms in on the 001 tattoo on his wrist, just in case you hadn't figured it out yet. Hopper finally comes face to face with Joyce, and after 7 long episodes, they finally reunite. In the Upside Down, the groups reunite, but Nancy gets trapped by Vecna. She sees Barb's dead body, #justice for Barb, and Vecna taunts her.
Do you remember what you did, Nancy? Or have you already forgotten? When I kill someone, I never forget.
Eleven's powers fully return. Max makes a bold decision. Instead of running from Vecna, she'll use herself as bait. 11 wants to leave and help her friends, but Brenner won't let her go. She confronts him.
You have risked everything. You have lied. You made me look for him. The Mind Flayer. So many dead. Now I know the truth. You are the monster.
The facility gets attacked. Brenner tries to escape with 11, but gets shot multiple times.
Goodbye, Papa.
Then back in Hawkins, the gang prepares for war. They split into teams. Eddie and Dustin will distract the demo bats while Steve, Nancy, and Robin attack Vecna in the Upside Down. Max will act as bait. Eddie then plays a freaking guitar solo of Metallica's Master of Puppets on top of his trailer in the Upside Down, and the demo bats swarm him. Instead of escaping, Eddie decides to sacrifice himself to buy more time. The bats overwhelm him. Vecna traps Max and tells her he's known about their plan all along. 11 shows up physically and holds Vecna in the air, but Vecna fights back and starts suffocating 11. It seems like it's too late for Max, whose limbs begin contorting out of shape. And as for Eddie, he's on the verge of death.
I'm actually gonna graduate. I think it's my year, Henderson. I think it's finally my year.
And of course, Vecna is finally defeated. But strangely, Hawkins split into 4 because of this event. The group reunites, Max stays in the hospital, and the town begins rebuilding. Eddie is still blamed for the murders, but all is not well in Hawkins. Season 5. Alright guys, we're getting there. Stick with me now, okay? We open with a flashback to Little Will in the Upside Down from Season 1, and we see Vecna, and he gives major child predator energy.
You and I, we are going to do such beautiful things together, William.
Like, excuse me? Whole government name while putting your tentacles into a child's mouth? Anyway, back in the present, Hawkins is very different. Military units have sealed the gates, but the town remains quarantined. At Hawkins High, Dustin is going through it after losing Eddie and gets bullied for wearing a Hellfire Club shirt. But then Will and Lucas walk in, and boy have they grown since the last season. We then get to see a poster for a missing Jane Hopper, or 11, on the wall. But Al's not actually missing. She's just training to eventually take down Vecna. Here we also learn that the military is really there in Hawkins to find 11. Then we see the whole group, and they have come up with a plan for Hopper to sneak into the Upside Down to look for Vecna, which is called their crawl.
We don't stop looking. Even if it takes 100 more crawls, 1,000. We don't stop until we're goddamn sure that wrinkled, noseless, rotting bastard is dead and gone and never coming back.
Just then, our bowl-cut boy starts feeling weird, and we know Vecna is close. We then see Holly, the forgotten third sibling, finally getting some screen time. So we see Holly waving at someone mysterious called Mr. What's-It, who claims to protect her from monsters. But wait, where's Max? Unfortunately, our Mad Max is still in a coma, and we see Lucas and Will visiting her. Robin is also at the hospital visiting her girlfriend, and they have a little cute moment, and Will ends up catching a glimpse of them kissing. Mwah. Dustin visits Eddie's grave where he's beaten up while his friends wait for him. So, what happens next? Well, their plan goes awry, of course. Hopper is able to successfully hitch a ride into the Upside Down, but Demogorgons appear and start attacking out of nowhere. Will has a vision and realizes a Demogorgon is heading to the Wheeler house. He warns everyone, but it's too late. Back at the Wheeler house, a Demogorgon throws Holly across the room. Karen grabs a broken wine bottle and tries to stab the Demogorgon, but it stabs her back, brutally. Elle goes into the Upside Down to save Holly, while the parents are taken to the hospital. There, Lucas points out that Holly was taken 3 days away from the anniversary of Will's disappearance. Will tells Joyce about his latest vision. Robin overhears this and theorizes that Will is acting as some sort of receiver for Vecna, like an antenna. While Steve and Jonathan are in the car, a bloody Dustin comes walking. At the hospital, Mike talks to Nancy about Mr. Whatsit and says he might not be imaginary after all. They sneak into Karen's room and she tells him that his name is Henry. And of course, Mr. Whatsit is Henry/1/Vecna. Jonathan secretly buys an engagement ring but struggles to find the right moment to propose. Inside Vecna's mindscape, a place called Kamazat, Henry has trapped Holly. He brings Holly to a perfect recreation of his childhood home, claiming he is protecting her from monsters. He leaves her alone and says he's going to save other children. Meanwhile, Will realizes his visions aren't random. He's seeing through Vecna's eyes. The group uses this to track Vecna and rescue Holly's classmates. They kidnap a kid named Derek to use as bait. A Demogorgon attacks, and Dustin, Steve, and Nancy and Jonathan get stuck in the Upside Down while chasing after it. Inside the Upside Down, they discover a barrier around Hawkins centered on Hawkins Lab. 11 learns that the base contains a vault holding something. Believing Vecna is inside, they infiltrate the base, only to discover Callie, aka Number 8 from Season 2. Remember her? Then Vecna collects all 12 children, including Derek and Holly, revealing they're vessels for his plan to reshape the world. He orders Demogorgons to kill Will's loved ones, but Will realizes his connection to Vecna gives him power over the Demogorgons. He takes control of them and saves his friends. Will's connection to the Upside Down is finally useful. Henry tells the kids a darkness is spreading and he's found a way to stop it. Holly sneaks out and relays this info to Max. However, Derek follows and wants to be part of the group. Callie escapes with 11, and together they channel their powers to find and destroy Vecna. Dustin finds Brenner's diary in the Upside Down, which reveals that the barrier is actually not what they thought. On the other side, Nancy shoots at the barrier without consulting Dustin, and all hell breaks loose. As they believe that they're about to die, Nancy and Jonathan finally talk about their relationship. He loves her, and she accepts his unproposal. And thankfully, they don't die there. Holly and Max discover a hidden passage and try to escape. Karen Wheeler, yes, Mike's mom, takes down Demogorgons like a total badass, and turns out she's more effective than the entire military. Max and Holly open a portal to escape back to the real world, but Vecna manages to pull Holly back into Kamazat, and the other kids, now fully under his control, turn on her and rip the necklace that's been protecting her off of her neck. And Callie speaks to Elle privately and believes they need to stop the cycle of violence. And although time is of the essence, there's one more thing they need to clear up, and it's of utmost importance. Will tells everyone he's gay. And with that out of the way, we move to the finale of the entire series. 11 and Mike share an emotional goodbye before she, Hopper, Murray, and Callie head in so they can finally end Vecna. Meanwhile, Vecna controls the children in the abyss, and we see the barriers in Hawkins weakening. Max suddenly goes back into a trance, but it's just Elle and Callie taking her with them, not Vecna. In 11's mindscape, she drags Callie and Max into Vecna's mind, landing them at Hawkins High on November 6th, 1959, in the Upside Down. The needle of the radio tower, it doesn't line up with one of the rifts on the abyss. With only 30 seconds to spare, we're back into Henry's mind. Max guides Elle through, and they finally reach Mr. Whatsit's house, though the tower is wrecked, and Steve slips from the edge. But don't worry, the main characters don't die yet. Jonathan catches Steve as he falls. Meanwhile, Henry walks into a trap and proves he's the real monster. Inside Henry's mind, Max, 11, and Callie lead the kids towards the cave, only to discover that Vecna has left his mindscape. Hopper anxiously waits for 11 to come out of the tank, while Callie tries to convince Elle to stay in the Upside Down. Hopper smashes the glass to pull her out, but it is revealed that it was all an illusion. Elle, 8, and Max disappear, telling Holly to get to the cave. Back at Hawkins Lab, 11 hatches a plan to enter the abyss herself and kill Vecna. Vecna nearly catches Holly at the cave entrance, but Derek saves her. Will uses his new powers to try and stop Vecna. At the same time, the military attacks Hawkins Lab with a kryptonite-style sound wave to immobilize 11 and Callie, and Hopper makes the tough choice to take 11 to safety, leaving Callie behind. 11 then begs begs Hopper to save Callie, and he does, but ends up getting captured himself. Holly keeps the kids focused, reminding them that nothing is real. 11 wipes out the soldiers, but Callie gets shot in the stomach. Rest in peace. Holly then attacks Henry, but he overpowers her and gets pulled into his worst memory. This is where we get a new twist in the story. You see, Henry was never truly evil. He's actually just another kid that got brainwashed by the Mind Flayer. 11 finds a new way into the abyss, sharing another goodbye with Hopper. Henry breaks down and Will tries to talk him down.
You were just a kid like me. It used you to bring it here. You're just like me, Henry.
But Henry says he chose to join the Mind Flayer.
It needs me, and I need it.
And just as the Mind Flayer corners them and all hope is lost, 11 shows up and hurts the massive Mind Flayer, and it's actually one of the coolest scenes in all of Stranger Things. The Abyss group, they realize that hurting the monster is the key to saving her. Nancy volunteers as bait, unloading bullets into the Mind Flayer as the rest of the crew rains down flamethrowers. Then, just when Vecna is about to kill 11, Will takes control from inside the hive mind, rips off Vecna's arm, and tells him they're not afraid, letting 11 finish him off. The Mind Flayer collapses, the kids are freed, and everyone reunites in a big emotional pileup. Nancy is finally reunited with Holly, and Derek hugging Steve is Stranger Things trying to make sure you cry one last time. But of course, Vecna isn't done yet. He starts coughing up blood, and that's when Joyce comes in with her axe. And honestly, it's the perfect full circle moment for Joyce to finish this nightmare once and for all. And that's a wrap, right? Well, not really, because somehow there are still 54 minutes left. You see, guys, the military shows up with their sound wave weapons ready to take 11, except 11 is already gone. She slips away back into the Upside Down, and Mike is pulled into her mind for a goodbye. Then, the bomb goes off. The Upside Down collapses and 11 stands alone as everyone screams for her. And then, she's gone. The Upside Down is gone. Now, we go through a time skip. Robin's back at her radio thing. Hawkins is rebuilding. The military is gone, and life is all normal again. Steve's coaching the little basketball league, and yes, Derek's on the team. Max is back on her skateboard, and she and Lucas are still together. Over in Hopper's cabin, Jonathan is taking pictures of Will, Joyce, and Hopper. Hopper finds Mike at the memorial for the Great Earthquake, where he's remembering what happened to 11. Hopper finally accepts Elle's choice, and Mike finally gets space to grieve. Graduation day then arrives for the kids. Dustin is valedictorian. He gives a heartfelt speech and rips off his gown to reveal a Hellfire shirt. The future montage, it keeps rolling. Steve, Robin, Nancy, and Jonathan share one last rooftop hangout. Steve's now also teaching sex ed. Jonathan's an artist in New York, and Nancy is a reporter. Hopper proposes to Joyce, and she says yes. Then, one last D&D game in the Wheeler basement. Mike takes over narration, giving everyone their happy ending, and then 11. Mike says he likes to imagine she's somewhere beautiful and somewhere safe. Karen calls them up for lasagna, and as they leave, Holly and her friends rush downstairs to start their own game. And just like that, Stranger Things ends right where it started.